Turning now to Quebec, which appears to be moving ahead with a vaccine passport program. Starting next week, Quebec's going to give its residents a QR code as proof of vaccination, but it isn't clear what the scannable code will be used for exactly. Canada's chief science advisor has studied the question of vaccine passports and how they'd look. Professor Mona Nemer joins us now to tell us more about it. Professor Nemer, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us this afternoon. So Quebec is basically saying you get a QR code, it would go on your phone, or I suppose you could print it off, and then you could show it to somebody and get into something. What do you think about that idea of using a code like that?
Well, I think that the use of proof of vaccination to reopen safely the economy is a valid approach. It hasn't been done in the past because we haven't had the kind of pandemic that we've had. However, as you know, a proof of vaccination is used for international travel and to go to certain countries. So the concept itself is not revolutionary, if I can say. Of course, the devil is always in the details. How you do it, the form, making sure that actually the places where you want to use it are prepared technologically to use it. That there are a lot of details in terms of who gets it, when are you considered vaccinated, for how long, etc. So I think that all these things still need to be sorted out before the proof of vaccination can be used effectively.
Yeah, absolutely. And your report laid out a lot of these issues, and there are many of them, from privacy to just the practicalities of it. And I know you weren't sort of telling the government what approach it should take, but I am curious to hear your thoughts when you have one province, Quebec, doing a QR code to show you've been vaccinated. You have other provinces that are basically just giving you a piece of paper or a certificate as you go out the door. Is that really the best solution? Should we have a national approach?
Look, ideally, we would have the same the same proof of certification, the same accepted or acceptable form that can be used everywhere, because people in Canada do move from across provinces under normal circumstances, and hopefully again soon. So I think that some consultation and some agreements as to what information goes into there and what form it takes is important.
Yeah.
Now, the paper versus the electronic form is an interesting question. I think that in whatever we do, we have to be mindful about things like fraud, but also about things like equity. Not everyone necessarily has a cell phone and can get a QR code. So I think that we need to contemplate as well having both a paper format, if you want, and an electronic format as well. But it would be so much easier if the entire country came to the same consensus, and also if that consensus was consistent with the international approaches as well. Otherwise, each citizen is going to have a provincial card and then potentially an international one as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we hear the European Union, for instance, talking about having a unified approach, a single vaccine certificate, and may require one in order to get into that country. We know the tourism minister, Mélanie Joly, has been working with international partners, trying to look at what they might be doing, what they might be requiring. But I also am curious in a domestic sense, just because you've looked into this issue. I can see the idea of getting on a plane and having the certificate to show up in Spain or something like that. Where might we use it in a domestic sense?
Well, I mean, since we're on travel, what we can use it for is also domestic travel. As we can all see that all provinces want to make sure that they're not importing unnecessarily viruses from other places. They want to make sure that their population remains safe. And I think that a proof of vaccination would be really helpful in these contexts and in these circumstances, because the idea that you're fully vaccinated, and I stress fully vaccinated, because this is really when you are less of a hazard in terms of transmitting the virus, is extremely important in terms of being able to reopen the economy, also for the workers and the tourism industry, but even in all sectors of the economy, to know that they are safe and that their families are safe. So I think there are many places where this can be used. Look, what options do we have? We can stay in lockdown until the virus disappears, and I think it's going to be a while because the virus is with us and we have to learn to live with it. Or we can get vaccinated and have proof of vaccination and safely reopen the economy.
Yeah, and look, I think that we're in a different stage in this pandemic. Absolutely, that a lot of people are already have their first shots in their arms. Many more will in the coming weeks, and we're beginning to get a sense of perhaps when people will be going back for their second shot, and perhaps that timeline that people expect might even be moved up. But we're also seeing sort of continually changing or evolving medical advice. Again, we saw it with the whole preferred vaccines. That discussion that came out of NACI. Do you worry about the impact that continues to have on the broader population who really are just looking for clear leadership on what they ought to do?
Look, there are a number of things that haven't changed. One of them is how fortunate we are to have very effective vaccines.
Yeah.
And the second thing that hasn't changed is that vaccination right now is our best preventive approach against the virus. And let me tell you, this is a nasty virus. You don't want to catch it, so you want to get vaccinated. And I think that we need to be careful here because vaccination is not a sort of therapy to get you over a disease. It's to prevent the disease. So people should not wait until transmission is high in their neighborhoods or in their provinces before they get vaccinated. We need the maximum people to get vaccinated as quickly as possible. And we have very effective vaccines. We do acknowledge that there is a rare but a severe side effect for one of those platforms. But the good news is it's very rare, and we know the symptoms, and we have a treatment.
Yeah. Professor Nemer, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to leave it there. I'm out of time with you now, but thank you. I hear your point. A very low risk, 1 in 100,000 is the current information we have on that AstraZeneca. Much appreciated for your time today.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.